Hey, good morning. It's Monday, June 7th. As you know, I typically talk about worldview on Mondays, but I want to combine worldview this morning with what I'm going to have the privilege to preach on this coming Sunday at Village Church about Paul's urging to us in chapter 4, where he says, "See, so I tell you this and insist on it in the Lord, that you must no longer walk, live, think," would be the right nuance there, "as the Gentiles do," that is, those people who don't know God and don't act as if he exists, and because their thinking is futile and they're darkened in their understanding. Well, Paul's making this argument. He says, "So I tell you this," or it might read, "Therefore." He's making a connection. And it's not just to the previous verses where he says, we are to grow up to be as fully mature as Christ. That's true. We are to speak the truth in love to one another. That's true. But I think what is driving Paul here are his words in the opening part of Ephesians, which I believe he's trying, through the beauty of literature, to encourage us to see what's really valuable in life. And he says in chapter 1, "I keep asking God, of the God of our Lord Jesus Christ, the glorious Father, that he may give you the spirit of wisdom and revelation so that you may know him better." Then catch this phrase, "I pray also that the eyes of your heart may be enlightened so that you may know the hope to which he has called you." See, Paul is urgently, compassionately, passionately praying that God would open the eyes of our hearts. And that theme runs all through the rest of this letter, relatively short letter that he writes to the people that he loves in the church of Ephesus. He wants our eyes to be opened, the eyes of our hearts, so that we're not defined by people who have no use for God, people who think God is a medieval curse upon our age, people who want to raise up human pride and toss down the beauty of what it means to trust God. We get hung up on spiritual phrases sometimes. So when Paul talks about that the eyes of our heart would be enlightened so we could know and see the things that God has for us. I want to make that as tangible as possible for us this morning. And that's where I'm connecting this to worldview. May the eyes of your heart enlighten the way you view this world. This morning, it's cloudy here where we are in South Carolina. It's overcast. So some would say it's a gloomy day. But the value of this, the overcast light, is that you get a rich color that saturates things that's not possible in the full bright light. So I've got some pictures here. They're just things I printed on my printer. I took them less than 15 minutes ago because I wanted you to see a little bit of what I see. They're not great photos because it's not on super paper or whatever, but maybe you can get the idea. These are my flower garden out front. These are some cone flowers, just from one plant, but notice just the beautiful explosion of color that's there. Right next to them, I've got several hibiscus, bushes blooming out there. And here's one where, again, you can see the explosion. You can see just the myriad of color that is there. And the beauty of the saturated skies and colors because of the overcast allows these fantastic colors to shine through. So we begin to have a sense of wonder. Here's a close-up of a huge hibiscus plume. It's just massive. but so is the color and the impact of that. See, Paul wants the eyes of our heart to be open, to see the beauty that he has for us, and not have us defined by people who, frankly, have no use for him. There's a calla lily here that is just my daughter-in-law and son gave to me 4 years ago. And the thing has just exploded. We have over 10 blooms this year, but they're just a beautiful flower. But what I want to point out to you this morning is note here, see right here, this color, that droplet of water? Well, it's distinctive and it forms, that little droplet forms on each of the flowers each morning. And I never get tired of looking at it. And I'm asking God to open the eyes of my heart to see this. The Proverbs tell us, guard our heart, because everything we do flows from it. Paul is saying, may the eyes of your heart be enlightened to see life as it truly is, so that you will not walk, act, think as those who have no use for God. Don't define your identity, your image, your worth based on people who have no use for God. May the eyes of our heart be enlightened so that we won't live that way, but we would know and grasp the joy of what it means to know God. And that's the worldview thought for this day. That's the thought for this day. Lord willing, we'll be back tonight. But just want us to grasp. May God open our hearts, the eyes of our hearts, to see what is true beauty. Thanks again for being here today, and you have a great day, and Lord bless. Bye-bye.